like to welcome everybody to the Incorporated Village of Southampton Planning Board Combined Work Session and Public Meeting for January 10th, 1922.
2022.
Can I get a 2022? Yeah,
Chairman, I will move that we open the meeting
thank you, Alan.
I'll second it.
for both planning and regular purposes.
Okay.
Jane seconded and I vote aye.
Okay. Everybody in favor, obviously. Okay, it's not on our agenda, but I want to take just 30 seconds to introduce and welcome Willa Bernstein to our board.
Did everyone vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I'll vote again.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, sorry about that little technical difficulty. So, welcome, Willa.
Thank you.
We're really thrilled that you're here and completing our board of 5 members now, and look forward to working with you.
Thanks. I as well.
Okay. All right.
Willa, where is your house in the village?
Oh, 28 Old Town Road.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm in Old Town, right in the village. Yep.
Nice.
I think you appeared before us at least once before.
Maybe.
I think it was in connection with the arrangements that were approved to rebuild the house for the Peconic Land Trust at the end of the street.
Yeah, that's right. That's when I first moved in. Yeah, that we were there just a few weeks. Yes.
Okay. I'm
Good
just,
memory.
Yeah,
I'm just
very good.
testing
Our
my
time is very
recollection.
limited tonight. So our time is very limited, so we have to keep moving, okay? The first item of business is an extension request for 40 Main Street, Old Town Lodge. They didn't, I don't think that they asked for a specific amount of time, but I'm going to recommend that we give them up to a year through the January meeting of 2023. That's a good idea in this instance, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, nothing has changed in the village code, and what they've asked for is reasonable, considering all the constraints we have with COVID right now. So they're looking for a little more time to get going.
Alice, do we need a motion on that, or
Yes, please.
I'll move that we grant an extension for up to a year for the Old Town Lodge on 40 Main Street.
I'll second it.
Okay. Chair, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alan, how do you vote? I mean,
Aye.
Miss Claire, how do you vote?
Aye.
Miss Cowell, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Miss Bernstein, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, so sorry about that. My iPad keeps falling on me. So that's approved. And moving right along, we don't have any public hearings scheduled for tonight. So the next item is having to do with the subdivision of 99 Sanford LLC at 99 Sanford Place. This is still pending review, and I think there are a couple of issues with the application where it still references homes on one of the documents, and I don't remember which one it is. Is that correct, Kathy?
So it's actually that the planning board approved the sketch plan approval for the subdivision that actually references the construction of 2 houses. Let me just share my screen so you guys can see. Think I can do that? Yes. Okay. So this is the property. It's at the end of Sanford Place, and their intent was to create 2 homes here. But this is in the village office district, which does allow single family homes, but that requires a special exception approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And the Zoning Board of Appeals did not grant that. And therefore the applicant has resubmitted this plan, which shows how 2 offices would look on this property. It would keep the existing office building that's there. There'd be some modification here to the entrance where the parking is, and then they would have to add parking for another office building. But the prior sketch plan actually included the notes down here for single-family homes, which they needed pine barren credits for. I don't know that they need as many credits as they have here now. It would depend on the size of the office building and what the actual use is. If it was a medical office building, it would require additional design flow and would need more credits. But for regular office flow, the design flow is only 0.06 gallons per day per square foot. And so they really have quite a bit of room on the site to meet the flow, but that's more of a health department issue. But for the purpose of moving forward, Alice and I spoke and Tony this afternoon, and we all felt that it makes sense to have a public hearing for the modified sketch plan. And again, they'd still have to come back for final subdivision approval. They would need to come back for site plan application, for actually construction of offices in the future. But for now, it would just be to basically review the subdivision, the change in the lot lines, but it is the exact same configuration that they proposed previously and which was approved last March.
So we didn't lose that emergency vehicle access situation, right? There's still that. Okay,
No,
all right, good.
yeah, they're still proposing that. Yep, there's no change.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure if I understood your email correctly, there is time for the February meeting if they. Okay,
Yes.
is there anybody in the audience that's associated with this application
Yes,
that wants to?
Mr. Gil Martin is here. Would you like me to promote? His hand is up. Would you like me to move him over?
That would be great. Thank you. Oh my God.
Okay, Mr. Gil Martin, if you could unmute and put your camera on, that would be great.
There we go. Good evening. Happy New Year. We did have the site plan submitted, and what we intended with that submission is that it be a sort of a pre-submission conference so we could ferret out any issues having to do with the site plan. So I don't know, Kathy, if you've had an opportunity to look at the site planning issues. We are in the process of working on the health department to amend our application there to go over to and I think it appears that the project sponsor will want to do a medical office use there. So we're in the process of working with the health department to do that, but we put the site plan itself in to see if we could deal with any issues up front. So I don't know if there are any physical issues on the site that we need to address, but otherwise we're happy to go to a public hearing.
Yeah, so that wasn't clear. It was just submitted as a subdivision sketch plan, so I didn't see any attachments with it requesting that, as their pre-submission, but we can certainly look at it in the future for, more specifics.
Okay. So you'll schedule it for a public hearing on amending the sketch plan to a office use instead of the residential use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the noticing requirements are 21 days prior, and since we've taken up almost half of January, the meeting in February is February 7th, so you'd have to get the notices out before the 17th. So I would recommend getting them out by this Friday.
Okay.
And then it would have to be posted, of course, and put in the paper.
And we'll get that information from the building department.
Okay. All right, so I guess a vote to schedule it for a public hearing, the sketch plan.
Thank you.
Well, it seems to me that would be a vote to take for an application that's complete. This is in my view, this is more than a technical change. This 2 houses would have been a grand idea. We don't vote on houses. We vote on the lot division. But for some reason, the zoning board thought that extending the business district next to all these houses was a better idea. I happen to disagree.
I don't think they thought it was a better idea. Alan,
They had the discretion to go along, and they wrote a long opinion and concluded picking one or two phrases that applied. I read the one I got down to Glasgow in time to get on the internet finally. And it was at the very end, they just picked two things to say, doesn't make sense to extend the business district next to all these houses. So that's not our determination. But for David, I mean, he's got work to do to get this now and as a business application. That is our forte. That's what we deal with. We will now deal with the businesses that go there. And that's in our purview as a board. So if we can get the thing redone, I guess we could schedule a public hearing on it with enough notice. Do you think, Kathy, is that adequate to? I guess the neighbors that live there won't, so for some reason don't care. It's been a lawyer's office and a vacant parcel for a long time. The south of it extends into houses and to something, as you know, we're have on hold now. It was going to be maybe a bank, and we're going to see what happens to it on Bowden Square. And then there's a couple of lawyers in the building and behind that parking lot down there off Bowden Square in terms of where it is in the community. But if the determination, which is controlling of the ZBA, is what we're going to deal with, I think we got to let everybody weigh in who wants to. Maybe has Gilmartin Enterprises heard from any of those people about this yet?
Yeah, we have been in touch with the neighbors who are awfully upset with the zoning board of appeals. I believe there's a petition going into the village expressing that displeasure. We are equally unhappy with the decision, but as it stands today, this is the permitted use that we're allowed to move forward with. And unless and until that changes, you know, we have a property owner who wants to make his property productive.
Oh yeah, property wins. If he's going to change his mind, they win. Okay. Well, I guess we have to vote. Kathy, can we vote for a public hearing to come before it's ready?
The application is really it's really a modification of the prior decision on the sketch plan at this point. So it's just for the division of the land at this point.
Okay, so it's not for the business.
It's not for, exactly. It's not for the site plan at this point. That will be for future discussion.
Okay, I'll make the motion then, if you want it, Tony, that we approve scheduling a site plan to affirm under these changed circumstances the division of this land into two parcels at the
So it
next
would
hearing,
be
if
public
suitable
hearing.
notice is given.
A public hearing on the sketch plan would occur then on February 7th is the date.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can I get somebody to second that, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Antoinette?
Miss Claire, how do you vote?
I'd just like to make a public comment that I think they're making a mistake in not making it housing, because we need housing and there's a glut of office space in our village. So before I say aye, I wanted to make that comment.
Claire, how do you vote? Miss Claire, how do you vote?
Yeah, I said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chair, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McFarland, how do you vote?
With the same caveat that Jane gave, I vote aye.
I will note that. Miss Cowell, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Miss Bernstein, how do you vote?
Aye.
We would be happy to go back to the residential uses if you can impress upon the people in the village government to smooth that. We'd be happy to do that. We do this application very reluctantly.
Noted. All right, thanks, David. We'll
Okay.
see you
Thanks,
in
David.
February. Okay, next item, business, our site plans. The first one is for 51 Pond Lane, and I think, Kathy, you've got to jump off for this, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I guess I could stop my video and mute, or you want to?
Yeah.
Because I'm a panelist, so I'll just do that. But I am.
Yeah, Kathy, just stop your video and mute. That's sufficient.
Okay.
And Kat, I talked to Pat earlier and he said he would be able to attend. Is his hand up?
I'm moving
Great.
him over right now.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Okay, I was sorry, I was I thought Pat was going to go right into. Pat, would you be able to just give us a little overview of the secret?
So if you recall, Mr.
Situation.
Chairman, when we last discussed this item, the planning board directed the preparation of a draft negative declaration. That negative declaration, you are serving, just to remind you, you are serving as the lead agent for all of the boards who are involved in the decisions associated with this application, that being the special permit, which now falls under the authority of the village board pursuant to the recent zoning amendment, and as well as a number of variances that the zoning board is taking into consideration as well. So neither of those boards can act until your board, as the lead agency, adopts a negative declaration. So I was directed to prepare that document. You have a draft that's before you, and that's the subject of your next deliberations. If you have questions with respect to that document, I'm happy to answer those. But the applicant's also available this evening to address the specifics of the project. I'm not here advocating for the project. I'm simply serving as Kathy's stand-in to address your issues. So my role at this point was simply to prepare that document for you.
Okay. So, you know, I think as a board, we need to discuss this. I'm of the opinion that, you know, I wanted to have a full board to review this. And I think that with Willa being sort of new on board, I don't know if I'm not ready to move to adopting the neg deck. I think it needs a little more discussion. I don't know if you all agree.
And Mr.
I
Chairman,
do.
so that's where you should be this evening. So the document is fairly long and detailed. If
Yep.
you have questions regarding each decision, each finding, we can go through that this evening. You can request clarifications from the applicant, but effectively you will be rendering this determination. So you should be fully aware of what you're approving and comfortable with the decision you're making. So
Yeah, and I just want to put it out there that we're not ready yet as a board, in my opinion. And I would, do you want me to poll each of you, or do the other board members want to weigh in on that opinion?
I agree with that, Tony, because we've had issues with the planning, the building department being closed due to COVID and not really had access to the documentation. I would agree that we need more time.
Thanks, Jane.
As would I. As would I.
Thank you, Lisa.
I think we do need more time on these
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah, and Alice knows, and I think you all do, I think we need more time, and I'm hoping that our current substitute advisor who helped us before can get, I think there are a couple of lead issues that make this an incomplete application for us to get to the secret part that this board has taken the lead on. And my list, which I give generically, Alice, is I am concerned that as I read the law and what's been done, reported, again, there's a shortage of reports. I agree with the current operating failure of the building department. And if people say I shouldn't have gone away at Christmas, that's probably, they get mad at me, but I'm concerned that the Community Preservation Fund, it may not be authorized to have approved what's being intended to be done with this site. It's a legal issue of initial importance. It may be the most fabulous idea in the world. I think having that house rebuilt is probably a varsity idea, but I'm interested in how buying that land back by the Community Preservation Fund and doing more than reconstructing the house that we've been told verbally is lying in pieces ready to be approved, and which was approved by our building commission, where it's all started 3 years ago, I believe. Why anything more than that is legal under the authority that we have as a community, all these communities on the South Fork for that fund. Secondly, they give that land to the town, not to the village. As I understand it, the town has been asked to approve this matter. And I didn't attend that meeting of the town. The report of it, which is in the newspaper, which I have to always discount heavily, was that the town said they wouldn't do anything until they were asked to approve a completed project, which I guess is subsequent to what we do with the secret. Thirdly, what I did read, and I did get a copy of the agreement between the town and the village, and there are lots of those. They surround us all the time. The fire department, all sorts of things are cooperative ventures between the town and the village. But that agreement seems to say that the village, and I mean village, and I put in word taxpayers, are going to operate this thing. Okay. I have not seen evidence that that's been approved maybe successfully, and maybe just if they get together and talk as trustees and say, oh yeah, we'll get it done, that's susceptible. But how this might operate, the plan that we've heard from submissions that have come to us by letters and everything else of what's been on the table of this project for years, says that that operation may not be trivial. So what are they committing the taxpayers to do? Is that relevant for us? Because our judgment under secret is, how does it affect the community? Thirdly, I want to know who's doing it. Is it all the 5 trustees? Or is there one trustee? We've had lawyers come before us to say there are conflicts of interest here that need to be resolved as to who's doing what to whom for the taxpayers. And in our experience, we've been through this before. There was a big issue, for instance, on the ambulance department. Why did we even get involved in building the ambulance barn by the police station? And the answer was the trustees put that proposal before all of the taxpayers to approve the bond borrowing to pay for it with everything that was going to be done. Well, that was a pretty detailed submission that went before us finally, when all that was put in front of us as a complete application. So I do still have and I think some zoning board people did too. What's going on? Who's involved? We have wonderful people talking about it. They're articulate, fine people. There are lots of aspects of this idea that make a lot of people happy, but we need a complete review before we get going. So they're my 3 major issues, and I hope that we can get those resolved. And with the help of a good agent to help us get the homework done, I'm sure it can be done, but it takes some work. It hasn't really come before us yet, except, oh, it will be done. And maybe it's all 5 trustees. We'll find out. So I'm sorry about the speech, but it does concern me, because this information comes to us all as citizens serving on this board a lot of different ways. And it's not stuff you get. I mean, if you're in front of the Supreme Court and you're hearing, let's say, I don't know what the good example would be, but you're hearing a COVID vaccination case, and it's from somebody who's had COVID 9 times already. Maybe you'll listen to them differently than somebody who hasn't. You get information a lot of different ways. So I think time is of the essence. We got to get it right. And I agree with the chairman. This requires some real thought, because it's a major undertaking that is sort of leapt up. End of speech. So I would delay it. Mr. Cleary can pull up his socks for the new year, and we'll get this going.
Okay, so thank you, Alan. I'm not sure, what do we do to kind of give ourselves a little more time and to give the new board member time to get up to speed? I'm asking Alice.
I think that we should hear from the applicant.
Okay. Oh, good idea. I forgot that they were here. So, Kat, let's let the applicant come in.
Okay, I will let him in. 1 second. Okay. Anthony, if you could just unmute. Yep, there you go.
Good evening.
Anthony?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So how can I help you?
So you heard from the board that they need a little more time before adopting this negative declaration. It's been prepared. It looks thorough. It looks to have all of the information that is standard and required, but we have had a lot of delays in accessing information from the building department. There's been a lot of closures and we have a new board member. So, we are asking for your consent to make this decision at our next public meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have a choice here. I mean, if you're not prepared, I mean, not if you're not prepared, but if there's a new board member that needs to take a look and it's a thorough document and the board wants to make sure that they know what they're voting on, I have no issue with that.
Thank you.
As long as we can get some assurances that at the next hearing, this will be voted on. Because with all due respect to Mr. McFarland, he's brought up a lot of issues that really don't have any, that the planning board really has no jurisdiction over. And it sounds like those issues are going to be brought up and try to delay our application further. And I just want to assure that that's not going to delay us obtaining a negative declaration. Those issues can be addressed at further planning board hearings because we still need a final site plan approval from the planning board.
Well, for purposes of the negative declaration, the board will be looking at whether or not this project results in any significant environmental impacts.
Okay.
As set forth in this document.
Okay. That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, what I would offer, if there are any other questions like those Alan expressed, if those could be passed along to Alice and I, and we'll develop a list of additional questions, if there are any, that need to be passed along to the applicant so that they'll have an opportunity to respond to you by the next meeting. If it's nothing more than understanding the document and there are no questions, that's fine. But Alan did raise some comments that relate to, for example, fiscal impacts, Anthony. So that's not an unreasonable comment.
Just there's no video.
So again, to the board members, if you
I can
have
listen.
questions with respect to the document, please pass them along to Alice and I as soon as you can. We'll develop a list, we'll pass them along to the applicant, and hopefully we'll get satisfactory responses to you for the next meeting.
And if there's any questions they have tonight, Bob Nelson is also on the call. If there's any immediate questions you want answered prior to your review, so you have some kind of information moving forward.
I don't need that. Hey. Willa, do you have the document?
I did pick up a copy of the documents, but I haven't
Okay.
had a lot of time to look at them. So I
Okay.
do need additional time to get up to speed. So I
Okay.
appreciate that. I'd appreciate an opportunity to review it and have any questions answered.
Anthony, can
Okay.
I ask one question of clarification? The
Sure.
issue that was most recently addressed with the zoning board regarding the width of the driveway, was that resolved? Has that been modified?
We have to start.
We sent them a concept plan modifying that. It was filed with them on December 16th. We haven't had any further discussions with the zoning board since then, because we're kind of waiting on the neg deck, so then we can kind of move forward with the zoning board, because we presented everything we could at this point to the zoning board while we're waiting.
Understand. Thank you.
I believe you guys should have received a copy of that concept plan too.
Got it.
I think Jackie Allen received it, should have been distributed.
I had one question. When if the neg deck is approved, what other agencies come into play after that? Like what does that trigger? Just because I'm not fully up to speed on that.
That allows us to go forward with the zoning board of appeals to obtain our area variances, and that allows you, once those area variances are hopefully granted, to review our final site plan and give us an approval based on the variances approved plus the site plan as it is.
Okay.
The architectural review board would have to weigh in before
Yes.
final plan review.
Yeah, I'm sorry about
So
that.
it's CBA and ARB. Those two, and any DEC
And
involvement?
planning board also. It would go zoning board, architectural review board, and then planning board at the end, once those two boards have put their 2 cents in.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it?
Yeah, okay, so Alice, is this something is this a resolution that we have to adopt, that we're sort of asking for more time and postponing it, or?
I think, the consent by the applicant is sufficient. I think it's a reasonable request. He was reasonable
Okay.
in granting that to us, so I think that's it, unless there's anything else that, if there are general questions aside from the neg deck, now's probably a good time to ask those too.
Hearing
I don't
none.
have any right now. No.
So again, Mr. Chairman, if those questions come to you, please pass them along to Alice and I, and we'll be the repository for your notes.
We will.
And if
Any
you have
other
any
board
questions
members?
for us, we can, anything you have any questions for us, we'll be happy to answer them as well, to make your decision easier. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I don't think there's anyone else in the audience that we need to bring into this at this point, right? We're postponing it to the February 7th meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the site plan.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye,
Thank you.
Patrick.
71 Hill Street. So I just have to review my notes. Okay, I think this is another one where we're going to need some more time on, but is the applicant in the audience?
Yes.
Okay,
Would you like me to bring her in?
are we ready, board? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more than just things getting stuck coming through the building department, right?
What is?
I read a summary of Linda's Riley's record of what sort of went to the building department and didn't make it through and everything for people to see, because I think this has been through an awful lot of iterations for the new design and the floor plans and all. So what are the major holdups that are before us right now?
Again, it's timing. The revised EAF just came in last week, and
okay, it's a delay again. Okay,
our
that's fine.
advisors haven't had a chance to thoroughly look at it. I haven't had a chance to thoroughly look at it.
No, that's fine. That's the time. I understand perfectly.
Yeah.
Then that's fine.
I think
Thank
I think we're gonna have to implement, toward the end of this meeting, maybe we can discuss implementing some cutoff dates for submissions so that we're not wasting the public's time. If we don't have documentation with enough time for the board and the associated consultants to look at it, it's just crazy to bring everybody to these meetings for us to say we haven't had time to look at it. So we'll deal with that later.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
These plans were delivered to the building department on December 31st to be exact, and emailed. So the plans and the EAF could have been emailed all out 10 days in advance. I don't know exactly what happened. I thought they were sent out at least the following week, but.
No, the building department has been having a lot of closures due to COVID, and so
I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
this information. I actually went to the building department a few times to try to look at things, and they were closed.
And Linda and Dee Dee, I didn't mean that to come across as anything having to do with your following procedure. You guys are exemplary. It's just been difficult the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, we did try to
Trying to
get it in with as much prior notice as possible.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So-
I can add that, so, we're, with the holidays and all, also just getting things assigned for review. I have somebody reviewing the EAF for completeness, and the plans. But I think at this point you have a plan that you're liking, you want to go forward with, right? I mean, that this is the plan.
Right,
And so we can start the process now. We can, do a completeness review, do a coordinated review for secret. Hopefully we can start that next month after we make sure that the EAF is complete. I did notice that there isn't anything related to traffic with the EAF, and I think that we're going to want to have some type of an expanded EAF to support this application, because it is a big project. And, I do recognize that there is an existing development on the site and that this is a replacement, but we do need to, go through all of the, environmental resource areas. And so we'll be doing that when we, review the EAF. So that was just my little speech. We're doing our best to get through it in the next week or so we can be ready with any
Can we
comments.
just use, Kathy, can we use the 22-year-old traffic study that was done for the Village Latch next door rather than go through all of this? Because we know that there's more traffic generated by commercial than by hotel. There are generics that will prove this. We're trying to make this less rather than more. I'm sorry that I've been pending on this since the beginning of November of 2020. So I guess I'm a little bit less patient than Linda and others. If you need,
Yeah, but Dee Dee, we asked you for
why
this
do we need a
traffic thing.
traffic? Yeah, but I thought we were a neg deck. I thought the village had said we need a lead agency, that this was recommended for a neg deck, and we're trying to take down this one building and replace it with more hotel units. If we're going through a whole secret, it's okay. I'm just going to fix the building the way it is. We don't need it. But I mean, how much more? We're going sequential. I know that there are issues, that the plans weren't delivered last month, that we weren't properly noticed the month before, or in reverse. Well, do we need to go through a whole traffic study? Then we're off until April Fool's Day, right? What else do we need to do? I'm completely
Well, you agreed to
lost.
do this months ago, so I don't know why you're reacting
I
this way
agreed
now.
to do a traffic study? No.
You did. It's on the record. We asked for it and you said you would do it.
I am unaware of that.
You
I'm
didn't
so
bring up
sorry.
using a 22-year-old study when we asked for it.
No, I am not.
'Cause we
I'm
would have
so
considered
sorry.
that.
I am unaware that we had been asked to and agreed that we were going to do a traffic study.
I
So
don't
this is a
think
full
that
secret
between
then, right? Okay.
So let's just start going back from under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We have to look at each project that's going to be, considered for approval by this board and go through the process. And the process has, tests in it. And one of the items is, is this going to have a traffic impact? And is this going to have significantly more traffic or different traffic than exists on site? There's not the box in the EAF, it says no, there's not going to be any difference in the traffic. That just needs to be substantiated. And I can't just guess, what the trip generation for the existing use versus the proposed use. And this is just an example. We have to, the environmental review process can be very straightforward as long as you go through all of the environmental resource areas and you address them. So I'm not saying you need a traffic study per se, and traffic count. I'm not saying that yet, but we need something that we can review that says, okay, well, what are the trips that are generated by a hotel use versus what are the trips that are generated by the existing use?
Okay, so
All
can we try to get access to whatever was provided for the Village Latch so that we can piggyback onto that?
I'm
do
sure
we
that's
need to do
public.
our
I'm
own
sure that's
records?
public information. Sure, I'm sure
Okay,
that's.
good.
I'm sure
Because we've been
information.
trying to get the public information, but have not been able to receive any information
They-
about the
they
Village
did
Latch.
it-
The records were
did-
lost, but we'll try again. Okay. And in the meantime, what we can do is get a traffic consultant to provide information substantiating that a hotel has many fewer expected or anticipated trips than the commercial where people are coming in and out all the time for office visits? Or do we need to wait until July 4th? I've been through this before. Sorry, I'm too old. I've done it. Sorry, Alan, never mind. You know, we can wait until July because any traffic study we do now is going to be irrelevant anyway. There's very few.
I may be older than you, so let me tell you, that traffic study I remember that you're referring to. And if you really want to rely on it, you're a great operating lady as far as I'm concerned. But do so at your peril. It was a terrible study. It proved that traffic would be okay on Moses Lane and nothing else. So be careful.
What was it? Whatever was approved and adopted, we should be able to use here. Anyway, I'm sorry. Linda, why don't you make your presentation? I'm going to
Linda,
mute myself.
the latch might have been done despite the traffic study. So just please do it at your, it's a good idea. So come if it's hotels versus commercial, fine.
Well, hotels
That's
and
fine.
housing. Also, there's a housing component here. You know, again, I have leases stacked up to maybe just go ahead and release and not hold the spaces empty to convert into year-round housing. Is it possible after this review to just have a list of the path through the approvals, assuming it's a project that we and you all want? If it's not, obviously there's a different path there. But what else do we need to do in order to get over the finish line, or at least get to the short stop between Third and home base?
Sure. I mean, there is, even in your environmental assessment form, there's a list of agency approvals that are going to be required.
But if we don't start with
One of the reasons we're hoping for the secret review to proceed expeditiously is so that we can get applications into those agencies and get those reviews going. We need health department, we need CBA. You know all of this already, but we really can't get too much done without at least a coordination of lead agency status. So that's one of the reasons why my client is frustrated and wants to move this ahead as quickly as possible. And what she's talking about with the Board of Trustees is we did ask them to assume lead agency status before they heard and granted the special exception use for the resort hotel and the workforce housing. They punted and they decided not to do that. They issued a neg deck, but since it wasn't coordinated with the other agencies, I understand that we either have to do that now or each agency has to make its own decision. But she's becoming frustrated at how long this is taking to just get to step B.
Okay. I mean, this is a big site plan application. I'm sorry. I mean, and I know that in other towns and villages, it could be a lot longer to review a site plan. So we're doing the best we can. We just got the plans. I have January 3rd is the date that we received them. So, I mean, we had other versions of the plans for sure, but we will be looking at the plans and the EAF for completeness this week. So at least we can get some referrals out and get a lead agency coordination letter out next month.
Possible to get a nod? I mean, is this something that you all like? Is this a good thing? Okay, so we should continue with it?
Well, I'm speaking for myself, but I like the revised version. I'm not speaking for the entire board, and I wanted to, that was on my notes here to give you tonight, is that yes, you're on the right path. I don't know if that helps, and I'm only speaking for myself, but there are some minor issues.
But
I'm one person.
I've been waiting a year and a half for that, for someone to say they
we should have started with that.
Okay, if you like it, then we'll do traffic.
You might want to hear from the other board members.
Yes.
I mean, I just said, I think it's as was developed and as we've got the 5 trustees to lift their leg over it properly on occasion, this is a good project to advance. And our burden is to serve several masters than the applicant. So we just have to get it done. It's what the federal, state, and local regulations say. So we'll get it done as soon as we can. And if we can get our building department back again, staffed properly, things will move a lot better. I can tell you, it's apples and oranges here. It's a major difference. Anyone who, Jane knows, she goes as often as I do. I've been there. I've been there proper hours, and the building's closed. I worked hard to see everything I possibly could before going off for Christmas with my youngest daughter. Hey, they were closed at 2 o'clock.
Is there anything that we can do to assist with Willa? Is there any reason why the architect should take 2 minutes and walk Willa through the plan now, or all of you? The only thing that was changed in this rendition was we're not asking the village for permission to put the sanitary line to the sewer treatment plant through the sidewalk. We're going to try to do it on property and have pulled the building back so that we can put it the proper setbacks onto 71 Hill Street. I've given up 6 of the 1-bedroom hotel suites for studios to be able to make room for that sanitary line. As far as I know, that was the only change. And it's because we don't want to go back to the village trustees and ask for an easement.
It sounds constructive to me, but you're avoiding what the perils are. You're good at it. So let's keep going.
Yeah, I've heard in my own mind and some other people that they're concerned about property line to property line with especially in the back parking lot, that it's going to be this sort of looming structure. I don't know if there's any creative way to look at that, because I'm sure that when we go to public hearing, that'll become an issue. So you might want to think about greening that up somehow. I don't know, but I'm giving you everything I've heard, but also letting you know that I like this newer version. And I would like to give Jane and Lisa and Willa an opportunity to give some input as well.
I think it's going along the right path, and it's a plan that I think we're actually quite excited about. So it's the process at this point.
And my comment is definitely going along the right path. My only comment, which it's very late in coming, but because I'm also on the master plan committee, the idea of shortening Viridian Way and pulling the street around and having parking in the back, so you weren't just this big entrance of asphalt, is very appealing to me. And I can't help but keep going back to that. And since that's 20 years ago, I don't know if that's something that we could look at going down the road. I'm not asking you to change the plans now, but.
I'm sorry, Jane, the first plan, and part of my frustration, I don't know whether you had seen it. I was asking to take a portion of Viridian, we were going to green it over. We have walking paths. I had a 55,000 square foot public park between the Southampton Inn and these new hotel suites, and a connection to Cooper's Farm Road and to the Rogers Memorial Library, and a swimming pool within that green space. That was denied.
Well, I don't think a swimming pool in the green space is the right way to go.
I mean, whatever, we can leave this, but I was told in no uncertain terms that it was absolutely not possible at all to take a road which was described by Mr. Viridian, who's the son of the person that's named after.
I watched the video, Dee.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember it as well.
It's just a driveway between her 2 properties that I was trying to do something much cleaner and much nicer.
I can't help but bring it up. We have a new member, Willa Bernstein's new to the committee, so I would just like to bring that up, that was, in my mind, a much better way going forward as far as our master plan going down the road is concerned. We're trying to do less asphalt, we're trying to do more impervious, and the idea that you would have that to welcome guests, to me, hide the parking lot. So I'm just saying that was a wonderful idea, and I just wanted to mention it again.
I always thought that was a wonderful idea for the last 23 years, but is this something that, has enough impetus and support to try to revisit it without turning the clock back by another 15 months on the process. I
Well,
don't want to do anything to
my
infuriate
opinion,
the board. Or,
it would definitely be a big sell for me that if you were going that way, absolutely. And I don't know how Lisa feels. She's fairly new to the board. A lot of people don't know what 20 years ago, what was proposed. So it's really hard to say.
it was a year and a half, 2 years ago it was proposed. Would this be something that the planning board might like the village board to reconsider at this time? It's a new board, but I don't want to get myself personally into trouble for asking for a partial forfeiture of a village road.
We shouldn't give you advice on that. You go talk to the board all by yourself. That's not for us.
Okay, well then I think we have to, I mean, as much as I would love to do that, Jane, it doesn't preclude the village, of course, from greening it over, rather than for the owner of the two properties on either side of it to green it over. I'd offered, I was turned down. And so I'm dealing with a linear narrow site with some uses that I think are preferable to what we now have there. I'd love to see a green space, but it's not mine to do.
Well,
Understood.
Linda, I'm sorry.
any comments, Tony?
No, I concur with the last statement that was made. Anything we do to make it more green, but I understand the constraints, and I don't fully understand the association with the Viridian name, but I'll figure that out at another time. Lisa, do you have anything you want to? Oh, you did already, right?
I did.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, if the
Okay,
rest of this history is that pertinent, and I was not a member of the board at that point, and it's important for me to really understand where this came from.
I have
Then-
all that information in my files. It's been presented in other forums in different ways. And I could prepare something for you that discusses how Viridian Way actually was an unnamed road for many years and was named Viridian Way long after it came into being in honor of Moon Viridian, who was the planning board chairman for so many years. But in any event, I can put together something that explains how this road came to be and how it came to be named what it is, and all of our efforts to try to convince the board to allow us to, at the applicant's cost, green it up. But they were pretty clear that it was, and we went to several different boards, 3 different mayors. And so at some point you have to say, it's not working.
Right.
Could it still stay Viridian Way and be shortened?
Oh, yeah, we proposed that.
Okay. That was,
Yeah, we proposed that.
I thought I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, we proposed that. We proposed a Viridian Way that would go up to a certain point, and then the whole back of it, including that cul-de-sac and everything, would be greened up. It's all been hashed over with more than one board, as I said.
But it was never turned down by the village board. It was just not acted upon.
Well,
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. I thank you, Jane, for bringing this up, and there are new people here. If we went back to the submissions, I tried this 10 years ago. I was turned down. I said, okay, never mind. But now I really do critically need to either fix what we now have or change the uses and build something which I think will be better. I can't just leave it anymore. And I would love, we were coming into Viridian Way and then taking the traffic circulation around the east, north, and even a little bit on the western side, so that the 2 buildings of hospitality and housing around this wonderful 1.25 acres of new green space with the parking peripheral.
Yeah,
I thought it was just such a nice thing to do.
Personally, I love that plan.
Me too. And then the building itself had no double loaded corridors. It was a single loaded corridor like the Boar's Head Inn, this very old, gracious University of Virginia Foundation where my son is in school. So we stay there all the time. And all of the rooms look out over the park with their own private spaces. It's something that we don't have in the village. It would be, to me, such a nice thing to do.
Right, so
But,
if you're gonna do it right is just how I feel.
But that's a prior plan, Dee Dee. That doesn't work with, you know, what we've resigned ourselves to, because Meridian Way has to stay a village road.
I don't think, so could we revisit it? It's a new board. We don't need to, it can be a village road. It's not to take it away as a village road. It's
You're gonna have to change your plans again.
Well, I can go back to the old plans. We dig them out. Jack is on this call too. He'll probably, never mind Jack. But we have all of the plans, and there were lovely buildings on the second and third floor were duplexed up to make fancier hotel suites. Should it be something that we can reconsider at this point, or?
It's gonna take time.
I was just going to say, Dee Dee, this is me speaking personally. I'm just concerned that it'll delay your project even longer.
It's gonna take time.
It's going to take time.
Okay. So,
I mean,
so
if
then,
you can incorporate some of the greening into a future action that you can continue to pursue as part of this.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe revisit it, some
right, some center median or something like that, where,
It's not our road.
it's not
We can't-
right.
We can't make
No.
proposals for your road.
that's
And
what,
also the buildings now are, they're much more efficient with double loaded corridors. So we have units that look to the north, units that look to the south. The pool has been incorporated. We do have the Olympic lap pool, which I think was wonderful for the village to be able to promote that type of maybe even a year-round facility. But if we're going to go back to some green space, that earlier site plan, it was a very linear single loaded corridor with everything looking out over green space. I don't think that works with the buildings that we've now.
Well, and you had yeah.
Okay, so I'll back off. I'm sorry. So we're going to forge forward. Tony, the timetable is, we'll make sure that everyone gets any information they need to be comfortable. And Jane, if the master plan wants to green over Viridian, it's the village's road to do what it would like to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it's safe to say that by the February 7th meeting, we would be ready to act on secret. Kathy, do you think that's unreasonable?
well, we can, so you actually have to do the lead agency coordination letter. If this board would like, you could approve for me to send out the lead agency coordination letter as soon as the EAF is considered complete. If that is the case this week, I can get it out.
But
That doesn't give us the time. I don't think we have the time for a secret determination in February. We would possibly have some, we'd still need the traffic though. We still
I
need
thought it
that.
had been done. The letter should go out immediately to the other boards so the process can be done and meet the 30-day time period. I thought you did it before. You should do it immediately.
Well, we can
And a
send it.
full disclosure to Moon Viridian asked me for 10 years, 40 years ago to go on the board with them, and I turned them down every time. The only reason I'm here is I wanted to help Roy Stevenson at one point because Warren Hamer got to be 96 and wasn't making all the meetings. So I'm just a repairman. So this is a long, complicated mission with that road, and just don't delay the good works that you're doing with the other thing for this, because it'll take a while to get it sorted out with a lot of history. It's a great goal. It just subordinate it.
So, I mean, I did notice the item about the not having the substantiation for the traffic. That's something that would be needed to support a neg deck. I just don't know if there's anything else at this point. So it may be that we'll need some more time to adopt a determination of significance. And you never want to make any assumptions about what that would be before we have all the facts. And plus, so, I mean, I would prefer to wait, but I can get the letter out as far as the lead agency coordination. I don't know that any other board or any agency would want to take on lead agency. It makes sense for the planning board to be lead.
It does make sense for you to do it. And really, if we could just get that letter out to coordinate at some point. I don't know that you need the traffic report in order to send an EAF Part 1 out. And yeah, I mean,
It's just that, you know, there's always the time kicks in that, you know, once you establish lead agency, it's appropriate to, you know, continue the ball rolling as far as a determination of significance. And so the sooner we have the expanded EAF information, the closer we could be to support a determination of significance.
I hear you.
If the board is in agreement, I'll get that letter out this week with the copy of the EAF and a copy of the site plan.
Is that something we have to vote on?
No, well, consensus is.
Yeah,
I don't want to step on Alice's
It's
toes.
not an action.
Antoinette should show the sense of the meeting was that we do promptly what Kathy just outlined.
I do have that in there.
Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt, and I don't know if it's necessary at this point, but Mr. Coogan's hand is up. You tell me what you'd like me to do.
Sure.
I'm moving him over.
Thank you.
Good evening. I just want to wish you all a happy and healthy new year. Now, I was just jumping in on the early conversation about Viridian Way and greening up the space. But one thing I want to have remind the board is that this present proposal also more than doubles the amount of planted area and green space that exist on the lot now between the large parking lot that is there and the buildings that are there. This proposal here, really, it's been a priority of ours all along to provide as much open and green vegetated space as possible. And in this case, we go from a lot that's 88% covered by either impervious pavement or a building to 69%. So it is a significant improvement in that regard, even without Viridian Way. I just wanted to remind you of that point.
Thank you.
I wish you a happy new year.
Okay. Any other inputs or concerns? All right. So let's proceed with the letter.
Okay.
We have a work session on the 31st where if there's any more conversation that's needed, we can do it then.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So our final agenda item is 230 Elm Street, Allegan Affairs. Yeah, some of this stuff sort of came in last minute as well. I don't know if it came into town hall last minute, but I know it came into me last minute and I haven't had a chance to really look at anything. I think,
so
Kathy,
Tony,
correct me if I'm wrong, but
go ahead.
I was just going to say, the action that we would take tonight would be to schedule a public hearing.
Well, that had been the intent that we were talking about at the last meeting.
Yeah,
however, so there has been some input from the neighbors, and it's been brought to the board's attention that the plans show something called an existing patio on the north side of the building. that it's in question as to whether that's actually an existing patio, and there is no certificate of occupancy for outdoor use at the site. So it is recommended that a survey be provided by a land surveyor that actually accurately describes and, you know, shows the measurements of what is actually on the site.
Yep.
All right.
I think that's a great idea.
Kathy, I read your memo. And I have, as usual, two questions from the other stuff. I was told by a trustee that there's been amendment to the village regulations that I didn't hear about. No one told me about it. I didn't get to the meeting or anything, to increase or expand the jurisdiction of our board. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Alice about it. They passed a resolution, I was told verbally by a trustee, that we are in charge of anything that's inside a commercial building, inside it, that has to be approved by us, not the externals, not all that sort of stuff. We know about the ADA, and that's, if we're going to start on this plan, having them update their plans for the village, is that something that we're supposed to do? Doesn't the building department do that? I mean, I'm really quite confused as to our being told to, as they say in the Pentagon, lift our leg over a lot of stuff that's not our business. Now, if the law's been changed, Alice, it seems to me we should have a briefing on it. Do we have to say that, you know, the ADA bathrooms have the right gender significance on it to comport with the Supreme Court or something? If we're going to start to administer everything inside commercial buildings, that's a whole new line of work for this board. So I'd love to,
of that amendment.
if you're not aware of it, I'd sure love to find out why I was told that our board now has internal jurisdiction over everything that's commercial. So that's one question. The other one is, I don't think to get into this, anything with this building other than the ADA is before us properly now, Kathy. I don't want to start to open this up until all the rest of these issues that are historic and we know about the neighbors. I mean, where do you see the stuff come in for the neighbors for some of the other applications we just had? We shouldn't volunteer for that. We're the judges to listen to when it's properly before us on an application that otherwise might be complete. So I just question your judgment that we have a duty to move ahead, even for the survey. I think it's probably a good thing to do, but it seems to me this is a question of ADA proper ramps and bathrooms.
So just,
I'm sorry,
we do
wait.
know that, so for one thing, the first question is the way that the interpretation of the code on what constitutes a site plan review and what requires a site plan review. So that has been determined that this, you know, needs to have a site plan review and by the planning board.
We have to have a site plan review, which includes
what we have a site,
conforming
yes.
to ADA bathrooms.
Well, just for this project, we need to.
Which project?
This is 230 Elm Street. We're talking
Okay,
about.
what is 230 Elm Street have in front? Remember, they came in with one of the rudest people I've ever seen in a public hearing for all sorts of stuff that's off the table. It's not in the application now.
So the item that was brought to our attention about the existing patio is in the same location as where they had previously proposed an outdoor deck, which was something that came before the board that would require, you know, that we all agreed would require a site plan approval because it's an expansion of the existing use.
Absolutely.
So that part of the application was never, you know, formally submitted as a site plan application. That was a pre-submission. But the plans that are before the board now, regardless that they're, you know, they are interior modifications and repair of the ADA ramp and some railings and interior modifications. Right. It does say existing patio, which is something that is a little misleading. And it's an area of asphalt pavement, which was never approved for outdoor use. So we're saying that it makes sense to have a survey to show actually what is there and to show dimensions to make sure that we have the right information.
Okay, well, then I yield. If this application is approval, by the way it's submitted to us, of that outdoor patio, I agree, it's before us, but I was advised that by the other words that you wrote, that anything other than the rail, I'll say the railing and the ADA, is not being submitted at this time. So I'm not going to practice the law, but if I read it, there's a real ambiguity here as to whether we're, as they say, lifting our leg over something that's not before us properly. And Alice, you got to tell us. So what do we do if the word says, as Kathy recited in her memo, that we are in effect in doing this review, approving that outdoor patio? Yeah, that's before us. They put it. They made a mistake. They put it before us when they said they weren't going to.
Well, the site
I'm
plans
with you.
should be correct before the board deems the application complete and schedules a public hearing. So if they're calling something an existing patio, this board certainly doesn't want to deem an application complete, schedule a public hearing, and approve a site plan
No, I
for
agree.
something that's not actually a patio.
I agree 100%. If that's what they're calling it, then I guess we got to do it. They made they're slipping one up in on us, so we don't want them to pull a fast one on us. We're not going to approve it. They can't do the bathroom because unless there's nothing in this application about the patio. If that's what it says, and I didn't get to read it again, but the summary and all didn't see it's in there because it was before, and they decided to take it off the table. We've got what, 6 bowling alleys, whatever the history is in the basement. This is an ancient property where there's a lot of controversy over its existing quote use subject to the existing approval the building department gave it, but it was 10, 20, 12 years ago, longer ago. I agree, it's a serious issue, but I don't think that patio is before us. But if you guys do, you're experts. Then we got to do it.
It's not that it's before us. It's just that the planning board, the plans need to be accurate. That if it's not an existing patio, it should not be shown as an existing patio, because ultimately these are the plans that are being reviewed by the planning board for site plan approval.
Ultimately, yeah, but not now. I'm really beset with the timing of these thugs. They were rude, awful people. So I'm on guard that they're going to take every advantage of us if they can.
Well, I don't think we should cast any personal aspersions against any applicant or otherwise. But it's important for us to get our file complete and proceed accordingly.
Yeah, and that's where we're at with this. It's not anywhere near complete. There's nothing. We're not close to scheduling a public hearing. We're not close to anything at this point because the application isn't complete. So Alan, some of your concerns are heard and understood, but they might be a little premature.
Oh,
correct?
Okay. I didn't see any reason to have a public hearing, but here we go.
We're not doing that, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So Chair, I do have David Gilmartin. As you can see, I don't know if you can, but we have a large audience. The only
Okay,
issue-
I want to address the large audience. This, like as I just said, there's no application yet per se, and we have to, because of time constraints, we only have about, let me just check here, we have about 14 minutes left, 12 minutes left to this meeting. And there have been a lot of correspondence coming into the Village Hall regarding this application. And I want the public to know that they've been read and they've been heard and they're being acknowledged. We're just not going to be able tonight to start hearing those concerns, and mainly because we don't have an application yet. So there will be time for that stuff to be addressed. It's just not tonight's not the night. And I think we should let David in, just hear what he has to say, but that's probably all we're going to have time for before we lose the platform to the next meeting.
Yes, so we do have to be off by 6:30 so she can set up for the ARB.
Yeah, understood. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Hi, David.
Good evening. Good to see you again. Let me be clear from the outset. There is no proposal with this application, which I have been told has been done in full, to have an outside use on what is referred to on some survey as a patio. Let me be clear, there is no outside use. There has never been on this property, and there can't be until we get permission from this board. That is some existing, stone patio at grade that's never been used, and that is not a part of the application. Whoever's saying that it is doesn't have correct information. This property is the Polish Hall, which was built according to village records sometime in the mid-30s. It has existed there since that time. It has existed as a catering hall. It has 2 certificates of occupancy that reflect that use. This property will be used as a catering hall moving forward. There is no change of use in it, and the property will be used on the interior only. The building department issued a building permit in March of 2021. Work commenced on the interior for 7 or 8 months until a stop work order was issued, which directed us by the planning board, by the building department, to come to this board to approve interior alterations. This board, and I said it the last time, and I hope, Alan, you weren't referring to my presentation the last time when you discussed the awful people coming, but I said to you the last time, you're beyond your jurisdiction. The state gives you the power to review site plans. That review is done on the exterior of buildings only. Read the enabling legislation. It is clear. That said, we were stuck between a rock and a hard place, the building department and the planning board. So here we are. I've read Ms. Eisman's memo. There's one issue that's outstanding on this application right now, and that's the construction of the ADA compliant access to the building. We provided an updated, highlighted plan for that recently. That plan just highlights what we've had prior on our plan that you've had before you for a significant time. Anything having to do with the exterior has been withdrawn. Again, withdrawn. There's no application right now to do anything to the exterior. It is interior improvements only, except for the ADA compliant access. The interior improvements include improving the bathrooms so they're ADA compliant, closing up an access to the downstairs, which was not appropriate or safe, and building out a coat closet. So that's what's before you. Those 4 improvements. This board has never considered interior improvements before. This is a tortured interpretation of the code, and that's really what's happening here. And I think we all know why it's happening. Your code allows you to approve this without a public hearing, and I'm asking you to do that tonight based on the 4 things that are part of the application, 3 of which are on the interior. The only issue is the exterior, and that's the ADA compliant access, which we do comply with New York State and federal regulations regarding the ADA. So I would ask you to do that tonight. There are no other issues. If you hold a public hearing, that public hearing has to be limited to the ADA compliant access. And if you want to discuss the interior, we can do that too, although this board has never done that in its existence. So I would ask you tonight to waive the public hearing and approve it in its limited form and not listen to other people who try to define our application. We define the application. And again, I started out with, let me be clear. Let me be clear. There is no proposal for an outside use on this property. It will operate as it did as a catering hall prior to my client's lease, and it will after my client's they've taken possession. But that's how it will operate, an interior catering hall, unless and until we do something to make any other application.
That it?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, David, my reference was not to you. It was to a spokesman for a new leaseholder that came in and was somewhere between antagonistic, rude, and difficult in his entire presentation to the board. It was just, Alice is right. I shouldn't characterize it, but it was a real setback for whatever the cause was. It wasn't you, I guarantee you.
Thank you.
David, I'll send you a copy of the memo that was a supplemental memo that identifies the reason for request for a survey prepared by a licensed land surveyor. So you have that.
Again, I mean, I don't know the necessity of that when I've said to you on a couple of occasions tonight and at our previous appearance that we don't have any proposals right now for outside use.
David, I hate to disappoint you, but
But you will, right?
I don't want to, but I'm not personally prepared to. I'm very confused, honestly. And you made a comment about everybody knowing why this was done. I don't know why this was done. I might be naive to village politics or whatever you're referring to, but I don't know why this is becoming as convoluted as it is. So,
in my view, it's not convoluted. It's pretty straightforward.
When I listen to you, it is very straightforward.
We got a building permit. Some mysterious stop work order appears. That building permit has never been revoked, so it's valid today. There's clear meddling going in. I don't know who's meddling into this application, but let's make it clear so it's not muddled for anybody. We made an application for building permit. It was granted. We were building out based on that building permit application. Three of the things that are before you, I don't think that's legitimate, are interior renovations. The only issue is the ADA compliant access, which, that stone patio has to be a part of because it's on the side of the building, right? So how can people navigate that area without having that stone patio that has existed for years and years and years? So it's not a convoluted application. People are trying to make it convoluted, I suspect, but it's not convoluted. It's very clear. I believe you only have one issue, but if you are now going to go on the inside of buildings and start looking at that, and again, this building permit was issued in March. I've watched your calendars. I see nobody else, no other commercial establishment who's made an application for a building permit have to come before you for interior renovations. It's only this applicant. Answer me that, right? So when you talk about that, you don't understand what's going on. I think it's pretty clear, Mr. Chairman, what's going on. It's only us that's been pointed out with this tortured interpretation of the code.
Okay.
I say you have only one thing to look at. If you want to look at the interior, okay, but I'd ask that you waive the public hearing because what I suspect is the public's going to come in here and complain about a whole bunch of things that you have no control over since you're limited in your review to just the ADA compliant access.
Understood. Alex, do you?
Yeah, My view is that that's all we have in front of us, and that's why I was worried that Kathy, who was doing more, getting us to do more than we were needed or supposed to do, didn't have it lined up right, but I gave you my view.
Have yourself a glass of wine, help yourself.
I call it Uber tonight.
Alice, help. What?
At the last meeting, I was asked to obtain a determination from the village attorney as to what the board's purview is here. He sent me a determination that this board needs to look at the handicap accessibility. So that's what we need to look at.
Exterior handicap accessibility?
Correct.
Okay.
All of it.
Okay.
So, but just going back to this, if the existing, what's shown on the plan as being an existing patio is not actually an existing patio, then whatever plan is considered by this board needs to be accurately represented. So that's why the survey is needed.
So we need a survey that says that is a patio or it isn't a patio, is what you're saying.
We'll get a survey that says concrete pad, which is what it is.
And the measurements of that.
Well, with a survey, I would assume would have measurements on.
Right, right.
Okay.
I think you can approve this with a condition that we put that survey in that shows a concrete pad.
Absolutely.
And you can condition that approval on that we can't use that there's no use on the exterior. And that should satisfy everyone.
We're gonna have to push that into February, unfortunately.
You know, I understand that you have to do that, but you have to hear my objection. We've been waiting a long time, and just please, we've been waiting a long time to do this. The last meeting got canceled for no reason of your own, but you know, the incompetence of the village to be able to properly set up a meeting, and you know, it's really objectionable. We've been out of work now for months. We have a season coming that we'd like to get to, and now we've got to wait another month for something that I think is very, very clear. You have a report, not from me, but from your own consultant, that says that our handicap access, which we have to provide by federal law, meets that federal law, and we've done that. That's the only issue that's really outstanding. So to wait a month is a significant burden on our part, you know, based on everything that we've been through coming to this point.
Excuse me, Chair, we are at, I don't mean to interrupt, but we are out of time because she has to shut down to turn on again.
You know. So David, again, I'm not happy to do this, but we have to push it off. We're out of time.
Can I get a vote? Can I get a vote from the other members? I guess I understand how you feel, and I appreciate your position. But
You can get a vote from the other members, but I'm not calling it. I'm not making any decisions tonight. If you want their opinions, you can get them, but we have about 30 seconds to do that.
can I get the vice chair to call for a vote?
I don't think
David, I
there
don't
is.
think anybody knows who the vice chair is. I don't think there ever has been one.
Well, you know, I guess isn't that appropriate?
I hear what you're saying, and I understand it's a catering hall, and it's been a catering hall, and I understand, but there has been a lot of convoluted things going on, so I think we have no choice but to put it off till next month.
I hope I've cleared up that convolution that somebody else created. I've been here now twice in front of you, and I've been clear on what this was and what it's going to be. Don't let anybody else define our application. Let us do it.
Understood. right, so we're gonna have to deal with minute approvals at the work session on the 31st.
I'm sorry, excuse me, when you say you're putting it off, what have you scheduled it for in February?
I'm sorry?
What are we scheduled for in February? We at least have a public hearing in February? What are you scheduling it for?
7th.
Are we gonna
I
have?
understand the date, for
we're gonna have
what?
a-
Are we gonna have the survey in enough time?
But what are we scheduled for? Are we gonna get there and then you're gonna schedule a public hearing in March and we're gonna be put off another 30 days and then won't get it, you know? I mean, this is really interminable, it feels like. For no issue, really no issue from our point of view. And again, don't let anybody else define the application.
We're not, David, but we made a decision that we need an updated survey. And there are protocols that have to be followed as far as when that survey is received, and that determines when we can put something up to a vote. I can guarantee you that this board is not doing anything to stand in your way, timing wise or delay wise. But I'll tell you one thing, it's your tenor and the tenor of your client that has got people on edge. So if you can believe that we're with you on this, try to move beyond that and maybe change your attitude a little bit.
I apologize.
We're all
if I have a
working through
bad
difficult
attitude.
times. Pardon me?
Sorry? I said I
We're all working
apologize
through
if I have a
difficult
bad.
times.
I'm sorry, we were talking over each other. I apologize if I have a bad attitude. It's just, this is frustrating.
Yeah, a lot of things are frustrating in life right now. But I think that we're doing our best. This board is doing its best.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, so hopefully we'll see a survey of the property. So we can have a
I guess
complete application.
I don't know, I guess, okay, we'll get you survey.
Thank you.
So there is one minute to vote on. November 29th. It really would be good to vote on those if everybody has looked at them.
I think enough of us have looked at them to do a vote.
Yep. If you want to clean them up, yeah, I'll move that we approve the minutes of the 29th.
Can I have a second?
You can second.
Antoinette?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who seconded.
You don't need to do a roll call, but Chair, you can
Okay.
second.
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Hi.
All right. The minutes of the 29th of November 2021 are approved. All good?
Yep. We'll
Okay.
make a
We'll take
motion
up-
that we terminate. I'll make a motion that we terminate the meeting so you can be a good citizen.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Hi.